Hello there. So, in my last vlog, I was wearing a dress, and on the evening that I made that vlog, I went out in my dress to a debate that was being held in my university about feminism, because someone else had invited me to go along. He described it as cross-dressing, although I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, because although I am dressing across from my assigned gender to the other gender in the binary, I don't see my gender as being on one side of a coin. But anyway, we did this and we both dressed in this way, and we met someone else who, if you subscribe to that model, was wearing clothing, a very spiffing suit and tie, which would have put her on the wrong side of the binary also. And the three of us sat together at this debate about whether or not feminism is still relevant, and it was very interesting. It was mostly about whether feminism is relevant as a political identity, and thankfully there were not a lot of people being outwardly chauvinist and saying women should stay home and wash dishes and men should go and do the real world, and because women's tiny brains cannot hold all the knowledge and the learning and the thinking. So that point of view was not prevalent, which is good. And feminism won, yay. But what wasn't really discussed was the kind of devaluation of femininity, or how femininity as a value is not seen as a good thing, which is fairly typical. But and I want to give an example of how femininity is, or masculinity is used as a model of kind of goodness, and loss of masculinity is. So this is my example. Last year we had a lecture on Streetcar Named Desire, and the lecturer described how certain critics had interpreted the play in such a way that castrated it, and he talked about this being a bad thing. It's an interpretation he didn't agree with because it castrated the play. It took away its power, its force, its, if you will, balls. And that rang some major alarm bells for me at the time, but I didn't stick my hands up and say, I object, because that's not the sort of thing that I do, although perhaps it should be. This was, so the idea being that if you get your physical masculinity taken away, then the physical signifier of your masculinity, which to the kind of binaristic, essentialistic conception is the kind of the hyper important, the balls, not to put too fine a point on it, it's you know, and so masculinity is the kind of force of the play. But I don't think he would have said that about a play by a woman. But all the same, this shows you how prevalent this conception is. And I don't say this in order to censure this lecture and say that I would never listen to any of his lectures again, because I was at a lecture by him on Friday, and he was very good and very informative. But that kind of figure of castration as taking away of all kind of meaning and significance is very widely prevalent. And it's the sort of thing Julia Serrano talks about. One of the points on which I very much agree with her, and she says that in her book Whipping Girl, and I did a vlog where I referenced this a while ago, this kind of obsession with like femininity is sort of weak and bad and wrong. It's on that side of the polarization, which is not good, not good at all. So yes, I wanted to talk about that. So you will see that today I am dressed and comported in in a slightly more gender normative manner than usual. I am wearing a shirt, and this is not a tie, this is actually one of my scarves, but I've tied it like a tie today, just because I felt like today I would be a little different. But I feel like the colours make a big difference to how feminine or otherwise something is. And I read a blog, a text blog, such a thing of something as quaint as a text blog, and not a vlog, called FemGuy, which I'm going to put a link to down there, and it's really good. And one of the things that the author of FemGuy was talking about was sort of dress sense, and how feminine you can make something like a shirt and tie. And I don't think I don't think this outfit is hyper feminine. I think it's sort of femmy, but as you might be able to see, I made an extra effort with my makeup today because I was planning on dressing like this. Just something a bit different, you know. But I don't see that this compromises my expression as a femme in any way. I just think it's interesting that if I were female-bodied and dressed exactly like this would be quite a masculine statement. But for me, it's a relatively, not very, but relatively feminine statement. Not quite as much as if I'm wearing a more, I think maybe the kind of like jumpers that I usually wear, sweaters for the abroadniks, that's a more kind of androgynous thing. So yeah, it's interesting. If you know, this is a kind of very relativized, like this depends a lot on, it impressed on me that how much my gender depends on things over which I don't have a great deal of control, like my sort of general kind of body shape and the shape of my facial features, and that I can't just like because no matter how much makeup I put on, I think it's still going to be obvious to most people most of the time. What my biology seems to determine that my gender ought to be. And I'm not necessarily uncomfortable with that notion. Like, it's something that there's a lot of things about my body that I like, but all the same, wearing this today has made me especially conscious of my, you know, how people read me. I've been thinking about that a bit as I've gone about my day today so far. It's only 2 o'clock, so things could change. Just quickly before I go, I also want to say that a friend of mine lent me a book by S. Bear Bergman called The Nearest Exit May Be Behind You, and I had never read any of Bergman's writing before, but I think that it's really good. And I may also get Butch is a Noun, also by S. Bear Bergman, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I would highly recommend The Nearest Exit May Be Behind You to anybody and everybody. Okay, bye.